Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today for this very special webinar with Bob's Red Mill. I'm Annie Douglas, your Chief Mom Ambassador here at Mom's Meat. And I'm so excited that you could join us today. We have a very special webinar planned where you'll get to meet Bob Moore, founder, president, and CEO of Bob's Red Mill. And you'll actually get a chance to hear from him directly. He'll be talking with us about nutritional benefits of whole grains and sharing some great gluten-free whole grain options and some different ideas. So we know that you'll enjoy this webinar greatly. At the end of the presentation, you'll get a chance to get your questions answered. So be sure to type your questions into the chat window, and we'll try to get to as many of them as possible at the end. So with that said, Bob, welcome, and please take it away.
Thank you, Ann, and welcome to my domain. Matt, you want to say hi?
Good morning. I'm Matthew Cox.
We've been working together for a number of years, and we're very happy for the opportunity of being with you today. So this is my first one of these. So if I stumble a little bit, you'll know I'm 84 years old, and I'm still learning new things every day. So thank you, Ann.
Well, we're here to talk about whole grains and the nutrition of whole grains, and a lot of the whole grain options out there are full of gluten. Whole wheat is the obvious example, but there are so many ways to get the whole grains that you need in your diet without eating gluten. And why is it so important to have whole grains?
Well, I think whole grains embody this is a typical grain. If I can get it over there where it's going to be. Excuse me, Matt. This is the typical grain, and the endosperm is a part that's the white flour. It's the same in rice, the same in barley, the same in all the grains. Is the bran and the germ are milled off, and what you basically have, and we have had, unfortunately, in this country for many years, is just the endosperm, and that simply is not nutritionally sound. Now, whether you're gluten-free or whether you're not, the wholeness of whole grain is an incredibly critical thing for good health. We have a land that's having a real struggle with health and its weight, and the wholeness of whole grain can help to make people healthier and live better. So I'll take this down now that you can see. Basically, this is the story of Bob's Red Mill and what we represent, the wholeness of the grain itself. I'm not sure here, Matt. Well, the fundamental good nutrition good nutrition is impossible without the wholeness of whole grain. I mean, this would be true of vegetables and fruits and everything. If we strip the important layers off, things that our bodies need in order to be healthy, we're going to suffer for it, and I think we have. I've been in the whole grain business for 41 years now. We started very small many years ago, and my wife and I and a few people that believed in what we believe in. But it's just been a wonderful expansion, bringing on folks within the company, and now our company is actually employee-owned. So we have about 300 people here that are very concerned with the wholeness of whole grains and the health that befits us if we eat whole grains. I don't want to just keep talking here. Matt, you probably have something to contribute.
Well, I think it's amazing how many different whole grains there are from all around the world. And we've been on a bit of a hunt for the last 10 years or so discovering those. First, Bob and Charlie were into the basic whole grains like wheat and corn and brown rice, and that was way back in the late 50s, probably 60s, and they were tough to find in whole form back then. But now Bob and Charlie have gone on this mission to discover all the grains from around the world, and it's just incredible how many there are. I mean, we have sorghum and millet and teff and quinoa and amaranth, and it just goes on and on and on. And the common thing that they share is that grains are not some dried husk or some dried piece of plant material that's just now inactive that you need to get for fiber. It is an actual living seed. It has this live germ that is ready to make a giant, beautiful plant or provide you with nutrients to get you through your mission. And they're just so incredibly powerful, but they've been treated like just like powder, like sawdust, just shoveled into bags. And so when the milling industry started taking the bran and the germ away from the seed and leaving just that white endosperm, it just was taking, like disassembling this wonderful machine that no longer functions the way it's supposed to. So, I mean, white flour has its purpose. Sure, there are some applications for it. If you want to make a big, beautiful wedding cake, I think white flour is the best ingredient for that. But for your basic day-to-day nutrition, if you're not getting those, you're really missing out on the thing that gave rise to human civilization. The cultivation of grains was the magic ingredient that helped people develop and thrive. So if you can't eat wheat and gluten is off the table for you, then there are so many great ways to do that, and that's why we're so excited about the product that we're sampling in the Mom's Meat program, the gluten-free muesli.
Matt mentioned sorghum. Actually, we have all these grains right here, and this is a bag of our sorghum, and there's lots of recipes on it. Our website just contains a wealth of information on what to do with it and how to cook it and all the various other aspects of moving over to whole grain. So we learned something recently that I'd like to share with you. We went to a seminar with doctors from OHSU. My wife Charlie and I took the earnings from our business and established the Moore Institute for the research of whole grains. And we had a seminar the other day, and out of that came a wonderful new declaration of the value of whole grains. It has to do with the fiber part. That's the outer layer of the, I'll get good at this as we go along, Matt, I'm sorry. The outer layer, the bran layer on the germ, which has been milled off now by the milling industry with the contemptuous statement that, well, it just goes through our body. And we've recognized the value of that fiber to carry the residue of our eating through our body. It's very important from that one standpoint. But a new discovery, which has been around since people have been around and whole grains have been around, is that these fibers, when they enter our large intestine, begin to ferment, and they give probiotics, a natural function, incredibly important for the absorption of minerals and vitamins and things from the food we eat. When you have the absence of that in your large intestine, you lack the ability to absorb important nutrients. This was totally, it just stopped the show to hear this doctor who was very methodically going over this value that they've been doing research on, partly because we've financed it, frankly. But the knowledge of how the whole part, the bran part, functions in our intestines and how it ferments is just an incredible discovery, if you will, and also how vitally important it is. So I'm still basking in that. I'm getting ready to give a talk in Anaheim at the Natural Food Show next week, actually, and with a good deal of research that we're working on right now to bring this forth, we're going to have a slide presentation of these facts. And I just think that whole grains, now I'm speaking of whole grains, whether you have a gluten problem or whether you don't have, but whole grains are available, whether gluten-free or whether it absence of wheat, rye, and barley does not exclude eating a very healthy, wonderful diet with bread and pancakes and pizza and all the kinds of things that people are used to, but this is whole grains, and it's incredibly important to our healthy diet.
That's so true. We have one of the simplest ways to get whole grains when you're on a gluten-free diet is with gluten-free oats. We've done something unusual to the way oats have traditionally been grown, which is the traditional way is to grow oats, and then the following year or maybe the season after, you rotate it with a different crop, and it's typically something that contains gluten, like barley. Well, we've managed to work with some farmers in Canada who grow exclusive oats for Bob's Red Mill. So we've taken the oat itself, when grown in a laboratory, is inherently free from gluten. It's that agricultural practice that was putting gluten, basically contaminating conventional oats with gluten, and we've solved that problem, and we've had a lot of success with our gluten-free oats. And it's just it's a familiar way to get whole grains. It's a really easy way to get them. In fact, there's the USDA recommendation for whole grains is to get 3 16-gram servings per day, which is basically, it's like 3 ounces. They're called ounce equivalents. They're 3 small servings of whole grains, really very small servings of whole grains. In fact, if you have 1 bowl of Bob's Red Mill gluten-free rolled oats, you're getting all 3 of those recommended servings for your day right there at breakfast. It fills you up. It keeps you full till lunch. It's really healthy, and oats have this extra benefit as a really super whole grain. They have a ton of soluble fiber, which will soak up the cholesterol that's in your gut. Your body reacts to that by pulling cholesterol out of your blood and putting it back in your gut. So you're essentially taking the cholesterol out of your blood that, if left there, could clog your arteries and create problems down the line. So oats are just a great way to get your gluten-free whole grains. But there are a lot of other ways too with these less known whole grains that we've alluded to, like sorghum or millet or teff. They're so easy to cook up. They really, I think people have this, they've made brown rice before, and it takes 45 minutes or an hour to cook, and that was a turnoff. But really, most of the grains seem to take not very long at all to cook. Like millet is one of my favorites, and what I know you like to make it at home too sometimes. And we'll just cook up a batch of millet and stir fry some veggies, put them all together, and you have a simple, basically a one-pot dish that you can make in 20 minutes. And easy supper, whole grain requirements met, full, healthy, satisfied.
Well, I sure agree, man. Charlie and I have been, my wife's name is Charlie. She was named after her father. And she and I have been in whole grains, I don't know, 1975, something like that. At that time in the history of America, there were a few souls, Adele Davis, Gaylord Hauser, and about that time, Prevention, Rodell began publishing information about whole grains and the value of a better diet, and countering some of the ill health that people were even then beginning to feel. And so my wife just kind of picked up on that. It was a good thing, because actually this business came out of that. It's been a long time. We've been married 60 years, and most of that lifetime has been surrounded with whole grains, and 41 years of that in the business of making whole grains. So it started with some of the simplest reading of books, and we have 3 sons, and when they were just little tykes, Charlie was very concerned with their diet, and we were kind of believers in whole grains. And I remember in the Sacramento area where we were living at the time, there were just 2 small health food stores, and that was the only place that you could get whole grains. It was just the way life was. No one was really interested in it, and it's not that way now. We here at Bob's Red Mill have a wonderful distribution system. I'm sure some of the folks that are listening are aware of sections in grocery stores and health food stores, of course, around the country. And believe it or not, we're in 71 countries with our whole grains around the world. And the expansion of interest and eating whole grains is just phenomenal. In fact, the very fact that we're here together this morning in this little seminar between us is evident of the interest and the success. That's the big thing. It's not so much just the interest in something new, but the interest in something that makes a difference in our lives. If we eat whole grains as a regular part of our meal, we will be healthier. And if we have allergies to whole grains, we have solutions for that in the gluten-free section. I must say that it's been quite a challenge over the many years to develop a gluten-free business, and that's basically what it is. We have a lab where we have technicians who do testing for the presence of gluten, not only as product comes in, but as it's processed through the plant, and then we have random tests so that we know when you see a Bob's Red Mill product that says gluten-free, that we know it's gluten-free because we've tested it.
That's every single batch too. Every batch.
Yeah, we break down all product into 2,000-pound batches throughout the plant, and that's our testing protocol. And then we individually can check those as many as 3 times. So we have a very sound program. We have about 12 people who are concerned with quality control, and they're led by a gentleman who is a serial chemist, a graduate of Kansas State University, and he has built us, at our expense, of course, a wonderful lab where we can do all its testing, which is very, very important because we need you to know that we know that these products will meet these specs. And our new facility, which we've been in now for 5 years, has a separate building, and in that separate building is our gluten-free milling and our gluten-free packaging. So we've gone to a lot of extra effort to assure that gluten-free means gluten-free, and we're proud to put that signage on our packages and our advertising. So I'm happy to answer whatever questions that you may have about the processing of gluten-free and how we maintain it. I probably am not giving a complete story about it, but it's been a challenge, but we've also met that challenge, and we're happy to do it. So.
Well, for all the grains in the world, I mean, we have just about everything here at Bob's Red Mill, and honestly, most of them are gluten-free. So if you're looking to get whole grains into your diet, which we think you should, we have many, many options for that here at Bob's Red Mill, plus thousands of recipes on our website that can help make the creation of whole grain dishes, whether it's a breakfast porridge or a gluten-free whole grain bread, or a great salad or a stir fry for supper. We have many, many options there. So we hope you'll check those out. We're really excited about, Bob was talking about the pre and probiotic relationship between grains, and there are all sorts of, well, I mean, I think your prebiotic can come in many different forms, but grains are a great way to get that fermentation medium into your gut. And then as for your probiotics, of course, they're the most common way is to get a live culture yogurt. But those two together really create the perfect blend of keeping your gut health optimized, and it's really like the other half of your immune system, really. So it's crucial. We all left the conference that Bob alluded to, really just stunned at how fundamental your gut health is to your, not just your gut, but to your whole body, and for living a long life. That's why we're really excited about the gluten-free muesli that we're using in the Mom's Meat sampling program, because muesli is a great prebiotic. It's getting your fiber. We use our gluten-free oats as the base for our muesli, and there are terrific ingredients like cranberries and pumpkin seeds, and there are dried apple bits and coconut, raisins, sunflower seeds. It's just it's a classic old Bircher style muesli, but we took Bircher's formula, and we took out all the gluten-containing grains, but it still has all the same benefits. But the Swiss were really onto something when they came up with their traditional preparation, which was to combine live cultured yogurt and muesli, mix it together, let it sit overnight. It sort of gets the fermentation process started in advance for you, and you wake up in the morning and it's cool, it's soft, it's ready to eat. It's just a great refreshing. I love doing it in the summertime. You can also make muesli as a hot cereal. So it's really versatile. It's a great way to get your health, and for the explosion in popularity for gluten-free foods, it's a perfect fit. So we're really excited to see everyone participating in the sampling program, and all the comments have been at our sampling center at Mom's Meat. It's just been really inspiring. We spent the morning reading through those, and just so delighted to have everyone participating in this program with us.
It's a real privilege and a thrill to have folks respond back positively about these products, Matt. I'm very pleased to be a part of all this. It's just kind of a dream come true after doing this virtually all my life. So it's a real thrill.
So if you want to be super healthy, eat your whole grains, and there are lots of ways to do it, and we're a great source for that, and there are many other sources out there too. Just pay attention to your whole grain intake, and know that there are lots of gluten-free options out there. I think that's it for our homily. We'd love to take any questions that the audience has. Annie, if you're ready for that.
Yeah, absolutely. We're getting a lot of questions and a lot of really great comments. So thank you both for sharing your story and allowing us to kind of be here with you today. So I'm just going to jump right into some of the comments. First of all, Bob, we're getting a lot of comments from our ladies saying how good you look. So they're wondering what your secret is for this healthy, youthful look that you have. And is it because of all the whole grains that you've been, eating, or do you have another secret?
No, I don't have any secret. Longevity in my family. I know that does make a difference, and I've been very blessed with that. My mother's mother and her two sisters that died here not very long ago, I have to tell you. They were all over 100, and they died the same year, but I guess it was probably time for them to go anyway. But we have a lot of longevity in the family, and I've never had a much interest in junk food. Some of this just sort of came natural. I think pops, I see people spend their lifetime drinking 3 or 4 big gulps every day. These things are just murder on your body, and you shouldn't do that. And obviously smoking, and some of the things that have caused short lifespans haven't been a part of my life. So there's a little luck to it, but something else too, and that is to have goals. I have just super goals in my life. The interest in this company and my wife and myself, we have given a great deal of our earnings to programs to help make the world a better place. But the crux of the whole thing is that I come to work every day. We're here at the plant. We're open 24 hours a day. We have about 300 people running machinery and packaging and shipping. But I work, say, 8 to 5, 5 days a week, and I think having purpose and focus and in my life has helped a lot to make me live longer. Incidentally, I'm going to cough. I will say one thing about all this, whole grain and long life, it has not stopped me living in Oregon and having allergies to some of the pollens around here. And this is my time of the year, so I apologize for my voice and whatnot. I've been suffering a little. It's my time again, so.
Sure, understood. Yeah, thank you so much for sharing that with us. So we have some really good questions coming in about the nutritional difference between rolled oats and steel cut oats. Is there a big difference between those two? And, which one is healthier?
No. Oats, at least, well, let me speak to Bob's Red Mill. We start with a whole oat. Actually, it looks just, this is a wheat kernel. I've shown it a couple of times already. This is a wheat kernel. The oat kernel doesn't look a whole lot different. You start out with the whole grain, and how you divide it, how you grind it, whether you grind it between two stones or two rollers, like steel cut. Steel cut is two steel rollers that cut the grain. It takes a whole grain, cuts it in about 3 pieces. We can cut it in 5, and sometimes we do for a finer grain. Rolling the oat is just a simple case of we have to steam it first because otherwise it would break up. Steam the oat, and while it's damp, put it through flat rollers. They have no serrations on them. They're just flat. Now, whether we're grinding it in a mill, rolling it, steel cutting it, it doesn't make any difference. All of the whole oat is there. The nutritional value is identical. We shake nothing out. It's a thing. Sometimes we have 22 mills running in this facility, and I give tours rather often. And one of the things that I enjoy is showing people a 2,000-pound bag of, say, rice, brown rice, going through a mill, and right next to the mill is another empty 2,000-pound bag, and in that is flowing the brown rice flour. There's nothing taken out and nothing added in. I have a whole company full of this. They're all over, and it's a part of the way we operate, and it's an incredibly important part for your health. I think it's incredibly important that we leave everything in. Matt and I were not coining a phrase, but using a phrase this morning that the whole is what? Is
greater than the sum.
Greater than the sum of the parts. Taking the grain apart, and then for some reason or another, adding bran back or adding germ back or something is not the same thing as your body absorbing the entire grain with the fiber and the germ on it. So, am I answering the question okay?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, thank you for clarifying that.
It's not really a difference between the nutritional benefits of steel cut oats and rolled oats.
Right.
You might steel cut oats a little bit a bit slower than the rolled oats, but I think that the difference is immaterial.
It is, really.
Right. Okay, great. Now, for those who aren't intolerant to gluten, is it still beneficial or healthier to go gluten-free? What's your take on that?
I think that there are so many. It's so complicated, and there are so many different varieties of. There's celiac disease, there's gluten intolerance, and there is sort of a non-celiac gluten-related. I think they coined some phrase lately that it basically means that there are many conditions that make avoiding gluten a positive choice for people. We really don't have it figured out. I think that what was the other new, the fructan-free diet was a new one that we heard about. It's mostly fructose, but it also includes wheat. And we have no idea why it's that way, but it's getting diagnosed for celiac disease is pretty complicated, and it seems like a pretty invasive process to get to the point where you have a true diagnosis. So that to the point that people are self-diagnosing, just trying a gluten-free diet, and if they feel better, then they stick to that. And we think that's just great. Anything that gets people to think about what they're putting in their bodies and focus on healthy ingredients in there. They're paying a lot of attention to that. If they're choosing Bob's Red Mill gluten-free products, then they're surely getting a whole lot of whole grains, and that's our mission here, so we feel okay about it. We don't really have any evidence here that being on a gluten-free diet is, for people who aren't medically bound to do so, it is necessarily healthier for that individual, but if they're feeling better, then I can equate that.
Well, I think so, man.
It seems healthier. Doesn't it? If you feel better, that's healthier.
We give tours of our mill every day. We open the doors at 10 o'clock, and sometimes people just pour in. We'll have 20, 30, 40 people. And also our retail store, which is just a mile from our manufacturing plant. I'm over there every day and talking to people. People want to talk to me, and they want to tell me how wonderful grains are and how much better they feel now that they're doing it. But one of the comments about in talking about gluten-free that I have heard so many times, this is not a scientific, it's not a medical, but people say, we've gone on a gluten-free diet in our household, and we all feel better. Now, that's not a very technical, medical evaluation of the situation, and maybe it has something to do with the fact that our gluten-free products are whole grain, and just the function of the whole grains in your body is just bound to make you feel better. But I hear it so often that it makes me feel that there must be something to this long, the agricultural industry has taken wheat and barley and these grains, and they have hybridized them and changed them. There are many, many varieties of wheat. And it's possible, I think, that we've changed the structure of wheat to such an extent that many years ago perhaps people would not have had a problem with it, and they are now. However, we are bringing back some of the early Mediterranean grains, wheats for instance. So if folks have a difficult time, an aversion or an allergy to the newer wheats, it's very possible that some of the ancient grains that we're bringing forth, they might help. So all the way around, it's been a wonderful doing all of this research in the grains themselves. But the thing I hear the most is that folks who go to a gluten-free diet feel better. And that's not very scientific, but it's music to my ears.
Great, great. Now, if a package says, it's 100% wheat, is that the same as being whole grain?
No, it isn't. If it just says wheat, there's no assurance that it's a whole grain product. You really should look for the terms whole grain to precede the ingredient to be sure that what you're eating is a whole grain product. It could just be all endosperm. It could be, which is just the white flour part of it, or it could be maybe some parts of the rest of the grain that they've thrown back in to make it look like a whole grain product. But look for the words whole grain, and that'll give you a clear standard of identity for whole grain products.
Mm-hmm. Okay, great. That's a great tip. And as far as where you're sourcing the grains, are all the grains farmed in the United States? And how do you select or work with those farmers? Do you have kind of a strict process of selecting the farmers that you work with?
We do, and it's been a lifetime project with me. Delegating authority is one of the things you just have to do if you're going to grow like we have. We have a wonderful quality control group of about 12 people. They're very well educated, and they're knowledgeable about what quality is and what they're looking for. We also have 5 people now in our purchasing department, and they're all incredibly well-versed people, and they deal with farmers. They deal with people who sell us raw products. But the biggest thing is farm. We're looking for suppliers of all of our grains, and a normal procedure after we make contact is to sign contracts and to visit the farms and visit the plants where, after all, when they bring the grain out of the field and they put it through cleaning process and then sacking, whatnot. So we have to be there, and we are there. We have a select pathway that we follow around the United States and Canada, where we send 2 or 3 of our buyers and our quality control people, and we visit these farms and visit the people that supply these products to us. So this is my 41st year So I'm still dealing with some of the same farmers in Montana that we get our hard red spring wheat from, and still dealing with the same family in the Sacramento Valley that we get our corn from, and all the way down the line, rice and different things that are grown in the mid-California area. All these people are familiar to us, and they come to our place too. We see them at trade shows. And at the trade shows, and one we're going to next week, we will make new contacts because of the growth of our company. We've been on about a 25% growth for 10 or 12 years now, and it's quite a challenge to keep up with our needs. And we've risen to that challenge. I'm very proud and very pleased to be the president of a company that is so active in the field. So knowing the product, knowing the suppliers, and knowing the growers is just as basic as anything. We're accustomed to doing it every day. So it's a good program.
Great, thank you. Now, I think a lot of people are wondering, do you have offer tours year-round for the public to see? Can anybody, come to these tours? And where exactly are you located?
Well, we're in Milwaukee, Oregon, actually Portland. I've often wished I'd used the name Portland because it would still get here just the same. But it's a small community of Milwaukee, Oregon, which used to be a part of, or just an isolated town, and now it's part of Portland. But Milwaukee, Oregon.
It's 10 minutes from downtown.
Yeah, right, it is. And because we're very pleased with our facility here, and it's very open, we give tours. We open the doors at 10 o'clock until 10 till noon. And as I mentioned earlier, folks will come to the plant, and they have a movie. We have a movie where we show the inner operation of the mills and some of the things that would be impossible to show any other way. And then we have a walk around and whatnot. And then we also have a wonderful whole grain store. It's 15,000 square feet. We have a bakery there, and we have a kitchen, and we bake our products and cook our products and serve our products. And we have a wonderful clientele. It's just every day I'm there, and I was there for breakfast, and I'll be there for lunch this afternoon. So people are forever telling me how great our scratch biscuits are and our pancakes, and because all of this is whole grain. And it's wonderful to see people appreciate whole grains, because that's basically what we do. And so I welcome everyone, from no matter where you are. We have people, believe it or not, who I think I have to tell you this one. I had a lady come in, and she brought her daughter. She said, I flew here from Chicago just to come to this plant. That's all. That's the only reason I'm here. Now, there's a story behind it. She's an airline pilot, and so it's possible for her to route herself, which she did. And she routed herself to come to Portland and came to the plant. And she was so proud of the fact that that's the only reason she was in Portland. That's the most outstanding. I can't think of one that would top that. So, but I was incredibly pleased. We took pictures together, and anyway, it happens once in a while, those kind of things. So, yes, we're a very open company. And, of course, on our website, I'm sure a lot of you have poked around and looked at some of the various categories of film and different things that we've shown. So I guess
Great.
That's
great.
Yeah.
So yeah, we have a lot of people commenting and saying that they lived closer, so they can come visit.
Oh yeah.
We have one person wondering, Bob, what is your favorite whole grain breakfast meal?
Oh, you guys are always asking me that. My wife. I know. Now listen, you got to listen to this now. We have a cereal for breakfast every morning, and she starts like with the 10-grain cereal, then she goes down the numbered cereal, the 7-grain, the 6-grain, and then we try. I love the thick rolled oats. That's probably pretty close to my favorite, and so I'm changing all the time. and it's awfully hard to pick out. I had thick rolled oats for breakfast this morning, and I will tell you just a quick story about our Scottish oatmeal. I couldn't figure out how to make Scottish oatmeal, which is, if you think of cornmeal, it would be oats that were ground between two stones, and it made a meal. It's not rolled, it's not steel cut, it's not whole grain. It's just the seed ground in a stone mill. But it's not as easy as it sounds. My wife and I went to the Preston Mill in Scotland, and there, lo and behold, they had this famous Scottish oatmeal. And the people were so happy to see us. We had some brochures, and we were able to convey to the millers there that we had a similar business and all. We stayed an extra couple of days. They actually lifted these big stones up, and they let me take pictures of, and I made a drawing of the way they had configured the stones so that we could grind oats and not cut them all into flour. And I came back, and this was many years ago, and I designed my own stone mill so that I could do this. And we have a larger one now, of course, because we have more demand. But so I have these personal experiences in the whole grain business that have made it so meaningful for me. And the little of that story is on the package itself. But I love Scottish oatmeal, and it's just like cornmeal, only it's oats, and it's ground between two millstones that are specially made just for me, just by me. So I'm still doing that, incidentally, even at my age. I still have to show them things once in a while.
Now, some of our audience is wondering, how does price compare with, maybe another, brand on the market with your products, and how do you keep your costs down so low, when you're producing such quality items?
Oh gosh. Well, we have a very rigid protocol, integrity. All these things go with our company. One of the things that we would never do is to charge whatever the traffic will bear. We've certainly seen this in new items. Many years ago, when flaxseed meal first came out, people were charging $20 a pound for it. It was ridiculous because, and when we came out with it, we had to build special mills and all to do flaxseed meal because it's so oily. It's 54% oil. And we priced our flaxseed meal based on buying the product direct from farms, which we do, and packaging it and selling it to the public. Prices, though, are not always so easy. This year, let's take, because we're subject to the grain market here, we buy so much. Things like millet this year, the whole millet crop in the United States was literally decimated by heat. And whole areas in Colorado and different that were always big millet growers, they just lost their crop. So there's a case where, unfortunately, there's a tendency to see just how much money you can get for something. And when you're subject to that, then prices go up. I don't know how much of that, but we, here at Bob's Red Mill, we try to sell our products and price our products with a deep integrity. We're profitable. We have to be. We're a company-owned company, so therefore we all have a profit in the company, and it's a very sound organization. But pricing, the main thing is not because something is scarce to not just see how much money you can get for it. And I promise you we've never done that, nor will we ever.
Yeah, it's really simple, cost plus pricing. So right. what it costs for us to put it in the bag, plus keep the lights on and pay our employees well, is that's basically the total cost of the product. And we're trying to give basic whole grains to everyone in the world, and the best way to do that, in our opinion, is to keep the prices low and make it easy for people to adopt new and interesting whole grain products.
We have a goal.
Working so far.
Yeah.
Great. That's great. Now, Bob, do you feel like, with children, do you feel like maybe when they start young, eating whole grains young, they have a better chance of becoming healthier adults? And, if so, do you suggest maybe the best grain to start young children at?
Well, let me speak for myself. We have 3 boys, and back many, many years ago in the 50s, when they were just stair-stepped little ones, we moved out on a 5-acre dairy goat farm. It was just an opportunity. It wasn't the way we did life. I actually owned a Firestone tire center, so I was doing something else. But the farm seemed like a wonderful way to raise the boys. And Charlie, of course, was just totally enamored with whole grains. It's just been a part of our life forever. I still, just behind me here in my library, have all of those books that I spoke to you about, the Del Davis and Rodell and all those things. So she was pretty well convinced that whole grains were the way to go. So here's kind of how we did this. We've always been close to our children and able to talk to them and reason with them. And we tried to show them that these whole grains and the absence of certain things like white flour and like a lot of sugar, and particularly pop. There's such a weakness. There's no self-respecting kid that wouldn't want something sweeter and sweeter and sweeter. So knowing all of that, you really have to counter it. So what we said was this. Here's our home. Within our home, we're going to have foods that we think are healthy and that will build your bodies and make you healthy boys. Now, we don't have any pop. I think pop is one of the worst possible things for anybody to eat. And most pops now are sweetened with high fructose corn syrup, which is, there's a study on that shows it just is a very negative and very poor product for anybody to ingest in their body. But at that time, the soft drinks were made with sugar. At any rate, I said, our home is our domain. We're going to serve foods here that we believe are healthy. Now, when you guys go to your buddy's house and I see you down the street and you got a Coke in your hand, for goodness sake, don't hide it. It's your life and you're going to live your life the way you want it. But here at the house, we feel it's very, very important to have food that we believe is healthy. You know what? It worked. I mean, the boys are healthy. They're all in this business. We're not in this business here, but they also have a business that we all started together, Moore's Flour Mill in California. And so I have been able to see them follow through with that concept of eating healthy in the home. And now that, of course, they all have children, and I have great-grandchildren now. And I'm inundated with family, which are wonderful. I just had them up this last weekend in a house full. And it's wonderful having little ones climbing all over you. You want to see pictures? I got a lot of them. I won't bore you with pictures. That's okay. But that's how my wife and I worked it with our kids. I mean, we felt we had some control over the boys and felt that that was our responsibility to try to not only to feed them what we thought was healthy, but to explain to them because they're going to be facing the world out there that keeps telling them the sweeter it is, the fatter it is, the saltier it is, the better it is, because everything has to taste good. And if you're going to make that your criteria, you're probably going to have a lot of health problems in your life because you just have to draw the line someplace, and that's what we did.
Right,
that's
right.
Kind of a crazy answer, but that's what we did in our household.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for sharing that. I mean, I think that's really good for all of us to hear because we struggle with that as moms, trying to get your kids to make good decisions on what they're eating at home and, not at home. So
we all reasoned with them, and I mean, we talk, tell them why. Don't try to hide it. We've never done that, and it's well, I don't know. Everybody has their own idea, but we've tried to be very open about this whole thing all our lives.
Right, Right, absolutely. Well, we just have a couple more questions, and then we're going to wrap this up. So we have one question here about, just tips on what's the best way to store the whole grain, to just, make sure that, you're getting the best product in your body.
I didn't get that.
How to store grains.
Oh, how to store. Oh, grains? No. Well, there's no self-respecting insect that'll pass up a whole grain. If you have a cupboard full of whole grains, corn and wheat, and whatever it is, and you think you don't have bugs in your house, turn your porch light on. Even in the middle of wintertime, turn your porch light on. Now open your door and you'll see bugs flying around. You know what? Every one of those things wants a place to lay an egg and raise babies. And they're going to go for your pantry, and they can sense whole grains. Whole grains will attract everything. So don't just put piles of whole grains in your cupboard. We have the miracle of refrigeration. And go to some local store someplace where they sell used refrigerators and things, and get an extra refrigerator or 2 extra refrigerators. Put them in your garage, put them on your back porch, whatever, and store your whole grains in a refrigerated situation. Frozen is even better, and they will not give you any trouble. But if you just choose to convert your household to whole grains and you fill your cupboards full of whole grains, you're going to be real unhappy with the process. So refrigeration is a miracle, and it's a wonderful way to have whole grains. We refrigerate everything. We have plastic containers, and we put labels on them. And I've been so accustomed to that all these years that it's just the way to go. And if you do that, you will never have a problem. It helps to remember now, all these grains have oils, very important oils and stuff, and anything like that has a tendency to turn rancid or oxidize. So the refrigeration keeps that down too. It's not complicated. It's not expensive. It's just a reality. So I highly recommend that you do that. The other thing I'm going to kind of pitch in here is all of this idea, everything. It's the big companies that make cereals, and they keep telling you how important your time is, how important every second of your life is. This product only takes 30 seconds to make. You have to get up at the last second in your household, and you have to grab this thing, and you have to eat it as it goes out the door. If you're going to believe that stuff, you're not going to be healthy. That's a lot of crap. You need to give yourself time. Get up 10 minutes early. You've got an alarm clock. Set the dumb thing back a little ways. Get up and cook a whole grain breakfast. You will feel better, and believe it or not, you'll use the time in some good, fruitful way, like reading or talking with your kids or something. So quit being sold a bill of goods about everything has to be fast. On the other hand, our muesli, you can eat it right out of the bag, and so is our granolas too. So it's a kind of a mixed bag, but don't listen to all this stuff where all the food, when you go to the store, everything has to be right to the second. Enjoy yourself cooking good food. I'm sorry.
No, and I think that for some people who have less space available for storing in their refrigerator, if it's something that you're going to eat in the short term, grains have a really terrific shelf life. A whole kernel grain, for example, can keep for up to 2 years. As long as it's a cool and dry place, a jar works great. Even putting it, making sure that it's in in a sealed package, or that you close the top properly. I mean, those things all make a difference. A Ziploc bag is what I like to do to make sure that it's not tipping over and spilling in my cupboard, and it's also keeping any insects out there. Jars are great. Jars are even better, and they look cool. It's you can take your Bob's Red Mill label and tape it on the outside of the jar. I've seen some of our users post pictures of that, and that's pretty cool. But yeah, definitely the refrigerator or freezer is the way to. In the freezer, I think a bag of oats would keep for like 10 years probably.
Oh, wow.
Well, actually, we have a product called Kamut, and it is a hangover from one of the Egyptian tombs 3,000 years ago, and as long as it was within a certain temperature range and it didn't get wet, and Egypt is pretty dry, they found that they had about 80% germination, which is amazing. So from that, we have a product called kamut. Kamut is the Egyptian word for wheat. So I mean, it is what it is. But it shows that the whole grain is a wonderful thing. It's a powerhouse and
it has its own packaging.
Yeah, it really does. And as long as it doesn't get wet, which of course it wants to sprout, as long as it doesn't get bugs in it, which is a factor, and it'll grow, and it'll grow indefinitely. So it's wonderful, wonderful thing. Whole grains have been my life. I'm so proud of it.
They're fresh and living products. You know, it's a living food that needs to be respected and taken care of.
The minute you grind them, the minute you put them through a mill of any sort and grind them and break up, then you do have a shelf life. And if you'll keep them in the refrigerator, it just extends so long. So eating whole grains is not difficult.
Right. Yeah. Thank you so much. And finally, one last question. If you could just share where people can find Bob's Red Mill products, especially the muesli. You know, is that available, you know, everywhere, or everywhere the rest of your products are sold, or is it just certain spots?
Matt he's the guy that's marketing this.
Everywhere.
I make it, but
our products are available in natural food stores and supermarkets, independent food stores. I don't think that there's a supermarket chain or entity that we don't have some presence in. We'd love to see all 400 plus products in every store. We're working on it, but the gluten-free muesli has really taken off. It's a new item for us, and it's hitting store shelves now. I think the most likely place to find it right now would be like a store like Whole Foods, or Kroger stores should have it in soon. It's I think the best place to start, though, would be Whole Foods right now, and you might also try, it's always available online, of course. It's available at Amazon.com, and it's available from us directly at bobsredmill.com. But it's going to be in all those retail stores, conventional, supermarket, mass stores, everywhere.
Right.
Great, great. Well, thank you so much. You know, this was a really great presentation. You know, really nice meeting you, Bob, and just hearing directly from you. Our moms, you know, really enjoyed hearing from you. And so, you know, mom ambassadors attending, you know, we're looking forward to hearing what you had to say about muesli and trying it with your groups. We're excited to kind of get your feedback. Other than that, you know, we're going to be kind of, you know, closing up the session now. Bob, do you guys have any, or Matt, do you have any additional thoughts that you want to share before we close?
Well, I think I've shared them already. The important thing, get up a little bit early and cook whole grains and use a refrigerator so you can store them. And if you do that, you'll be healthier and your kids will be healthier. And it just goes back in my life for all of 60 years of my marriage and my 84 years of life. I've been pretty lucky with all this stuff. Stay busy. Think good thoughts. Yeah.
Eat your whole grains.
And eat whole grains.
Our gratitude.
If you have any money left, buy an old car. I've got three old 80-year-old Model A's, and I love driving them. So I think they're shown around on some of our advertising, and I love my old cars. They're old like cake. Yeah.
Thanks to all of you for joining us today.
Thank you all.
Yeah, thank you. Have a great rest of your day.
Thank you.
All right, bye-bye.
Bye now.